Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to the Complete Husband's Handbook podcast. My name is Daniel, and today we're going to be following up with the duality of man. We're going to be speaking a bit of the darker side of men. And the darker side is driven more by the baser instincts, those knee-jerk reactions we feel for a split second. I'll give you a great example from me. I'm a very respectable person, and I expect other people to be respectful. So when you're driving around the apartment complex parking lot with your music thumping so loud that it's rattling my windows, my initial base instinct is to grab my .45 and put a bullet in your chest. Of course, you can't do that. That's against the law. But that's what base instinct does. Now, for a split second, I'll hold it and then I'll let it go, because it's probably some young fool who has no idea that he's even being disrespectful. He might have been, grown that way, or his family likes that kind of stuff. I don't know. But again, it's those baser instincts that can get men in a whole lot of trouble. So we're going to be looking at the example I just gave of anger. Now, if you don't let those things go, they tend to fester, kind of like a poison or a cancer in the body. And they build up over time and over time and over time until then you lash out, be it verbally, emotionally, sometimes even physically. So we have to deal with that anger, and we have to realize that, yes, men tend to be more aggressive. We tend to lean more towards the violence, more towards physical action as opposed to verbs. So, there are instances throughout Hollywood, movies, media, of people driven by anger, and that's the fuel they have. In fact, I've been rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a great cartoon to watch. Haven't seen the follow-up, really not interested, but that's another topic for another day. But Prince Zuko, who's chasing the Avatar, he realizes that once he stops fueling his life with anger and rage, his power changes. His ability to use fire isn't as strong. So he has to come to terms with the fact that he's no longer driven by anger and rage. And in, I think, the first 2.5 seasons, that's all he does. That's how he's driven. And you see how it affects his relationship with his dad, his girlfriend, his sister, even his uncle, who's actually trying to save him. The next one is the baser instinct of sex or lust. Now, I use lust more as the all-encompassing thing, because you can lust for someone's property, not just their spouse. But tell me if this scenario sounds familiar. You're out with your spouse or whoever you're dating, and you're kind of looking around the restaurant, kind of seeing what's up, and there's always that one dude who's endlessly flirting with the waitress, even though he has an attractive person there with him. And for a lot of men, that's seen as almost like a rite of passage, like that's what men do. And sadly, that can be farther from the truth. I used to work in the oil fields, and I had gone into the break room, one overnight shift. There was a guy complaining that he didn't get enough of a raise. And so I, trying to be helpful at least, I had asked him, I was like, well, what are your expenses like? Like, are the tools that they had to buy for themselves, are the tools really that expensive? And he's like, no, man. He's like, I've got a wife with 2 kids. I've got one baby mama with 3 kids, and I've got another girlfriend, and she's pregnant. So I'm now having to deal with, potentially 6 kids and 3 women. And it took all of my self-control not to slap him across the face. In that instance, he showed how stupid he was. And believe it or not, this dude was in his 50s. His baby mama and his girlfriend were in their 20s. So his, I guess, attempt to prove how manly he was got him in financial difficulties or problems, and put a strain on his relationship with his wife. Not only that, but none of his kids are going to trust him when they get older. Another one is violence. Now, yes, us men, we tend to, again, lash out physically. And there's that almost euphoric feel of, I don't know if any of y'all have ever chopped wood before. It feels good. You have swung a hammer and busted up rocks. Oh, it feels great. Not only is it a stress reliever, but it's like you're connecting with your inner caveman, as it were. But that can also lead you into a lot of problems. If you're out, again, a familiar tale of guys out drinking, chest thumping, talking about how big and bad they are, and then they inevitably meet someone who's bigger and badder and get their butt kicked. So they go home and take that out on their spouse or their significant other. So again, violence only leads to more violence. Another one is domination. You always have to be right, no matter what. We've all had managers like that their ideas are the best and the brightest. No matter what, they're always right. And when they inevitably become wrong, they throw us under the bus. Oh, no, I told them not to do that. How often does that happen in the workplace? A crap ton, let's be honest. But the idea of always having to be right is very scary, especially among religions. Now, outside of most organized religions, I'm going to focus on the family. I've seen and even spoken to men in my religion who have said that they're always right simply because they're men, that they're in control of the household. Now, yes, being the husband and the father, you're responsible to make sure that things get done. But that doesn't mean that you get to lord it over your spouse and your children. That's not how that works. So, always having to win, always having to be right, to be in complete and utter control, that's not a relationship. That's slavery. Another one is self-preservation, or hiding one's feelings. I recently watched an episode of Midsomer Murders, where this young man really liked this girl, but he never told her. So, towards the end of the episode, you find out that he was doing some really horrible things in an effort to win back the moment with her. And she said at the end, there might have been a chance for us, but now there's not. And the main character guy actually said, if he was too scared to tell her how he felt, then he didn't deserve her to begin with. Faint heart never won fair maiden. And that's true. Like, putting ourselves out there is scary. It is. If you've ever dated anybody, it's scary. Having to walk up to somebody you kind of maybe not really know and put your heart out there. A bad example of that would be Leonard from The Big Bang Theory. For like the first 2 seasons, he would get super depressed because Penny would always date these people, but he never told her how he felt. So, was he justified in his depression? No. He didn't put himself out there. He didn't tell her how he felt. So he had no right to feel depressed when she was dating other people. And the last one is pride. Believe it or not, pride is a byproduct of shame. Again, we're going to go back to Avatar when Prince Zuko had to learn a really hard lesson. where he thought he was prouder than ever. He was doing what he felt was right. But he still held on to that shame and that anguish of things he had done before. So pride is not the absence of shame, but its byproduct. So we really need to look at ourselves and decide whether we're actually prideful because we're arrogant and stupid, or are we prideful because we're supporting someone else? More often than not, we're prideful because we're arrogant and stupid and we've done something we really shouldn't be doing. But that's a really basic look at the more darker instincts that we men have. But I'm interested in y'all's thoughts. What do y'all think about it? Did I leave any out? If so, which ones? Feel free to leave a like and a comment, and I will talk to y'all on the next one.